Welcome to Your Infinite Health. Are you getting older?
Are you feeling it?
How would you like to do that in reverse?
We're your host,
Dr. Tripp
and Lene.
We've run an integrative medicine practice for 13 years.
Together, we have 60 years of combined experience helping clients.
We've helped tens of thousands achieve success in health and live longer, happier lives.
In this show, we'll cover peer-reviewed and evidence-based integrative approaches to creating the health you've always wanted.
We also share professional experience we see in the field every day.
So if you're ready to feel, look, and live your best life, you're in the right place.
Welcome to Your Infinite Health podcast.
Hey guys, Lene here. For the moment, it's just me and the guest that I will be introducing shortly. Tripp is actually in the other room doing a back procedure. And what I mean by that is that he is giving what we call Wharton's jelly injections to a patient who has been suffering from back pain for a while due, I think, in large part to an automobile accident. He got hit from behind, I think is the story. So in an effort to avoid surgery, he is going this route. And so we're looking forward to see what kind of great results that he will get from this, because to date, the results are pretty freaking amazing. I mean, could go on for hours and hours about the stories that we see from patients who get, I'm not supposed to use the word healed, but it's a great word, by using this regenerative modality for things like back pain in lieu of surgery, which is high risk, and you're not necessarily going to get good results. But anyway, that's what he's doing. Before I get to the guest, I want to give a shout out to my oldest son, Henry IV, who turned 18 on November 12th. And we celebrated this past weekend by taking him to Nashville. We started in Nashville. My aunt and uncle founded the Musicians Hall of Fame and a museum in Nashville, and I'd actually never gone. So that was a great treat for me and him, as well, as he is an aspiring musician and has just launched his EP on Spotify and YouTube and everywhere you might listen to music. The name of the single is called Skeletons Parade. So if you like rock and roll, go check that out. Anyway, he turned 18. We went there, had a great time, had dinner at Hard Rock. What else did we do in Nashville? Did a lot of walking. Was kind of surprised to see how much Broadway has blown up since I was there last. It kind of looked like a redneck version of or a honky tonk version maybe of Vegas, I guess. So walked that strip. That was interesting. And then after that, we went to Memphis and stayed at the Peabody. Had great barbecue, and of course had to go do Graceland. Hadn't been there since I was 7. First time for the kids, actually first time for Tripp. And that was crazy as well, because I do not think it was as large as it was when I was there last. Apparently they knocked down a strip mall. We just don't get out much. Things have changed, and it was kind of a shock to the system. But if you go to Nashville to visit anytime soon, go check out Musicians Hall of Fame and Museum. And otherwise, we'll get to our guest. I'm sure he's tired of waiting on me rambling. So I'm excited to have our guest on today. He is the CEO and founder or co-founder of InnoBev Limited. Going to be talking to us today about his product, BioLift. So Eli is an award-winning entrepreneur who specializes in food technology. He taps 11 years of experience in the global beverage industry to help steer BioLift towards success. Eli's passion for creating relevant consumer packaged goods, especially beverages, eventually led to a partnership with the Schiff Group investment arm to develop new products. Eli learned about the post-lunch dip, aka PID, biological slump, which was costing the work industry in the United States billions of dollars. He began working with a leading scientist in the field of chronobiology to explore the effect and possible solutions. In 2008, Eli founded InnoBev, a company dedicated to the study and development of functional beverages, with its main focus on using reversible science to find solutions for PID. The results, the successful Wake Up formula, and finally BioLift, the delicious beverage developed to bring wake-up effects to the public. Thank you so much for joining us today or tonight where you are. You said it was what, 10:30, 10-ish at night?
Yeah.
Cool. So how do I pronounce your last name? I want to make sure I don't say it wrong.
Faraggi. Faraggi.
Faraggi.
Yeah, it's like Italian oriented.
Cool. And so you're in Tel Aviv.
Yeah, I'm located in Israel.
The company that we're going to be talking about is headquartered in Miami, Florida?
Yeah, it's basically our U.S. entity.
Tell me a little bit about you before we go into the amazing product that you have.
Everything starts at the childhood, right? So this is where the seeds are being planted. Like, my family used to have one of the biggest distribution system in Israel, which reaches 11,000 retailers. As a kid, if my father always asked me, think what else we can put on our trucks besides what we have. So in this way, from an early age, he taught me to look for the need, like a lot of time you're starting a product, an initiative, because you think it's right for you, because you think it's the trend, but not necessarily because there is a need, so always look for the need. Yeah, and I studied psychology, actually.
And what did you do? Did you help people like you had a practice in psychology, or how did that work? And then did you transition into InnoBev? Had you conceptualized that idea even when you were like doing psychology?
So I was sitting with a friend who was studying medicine at the Tel Aviv University. And he told me, just like over a coffee, we learned that the U.S. workforce is losing every year $136 billion as a result of a phenomena that is actually integrated in our body. It's called the post-lunch dip. That the tiredness that we have at noontime, it's like a integrated biological need. It also has even its cultural expressions, like siesta, or in Germany, Schlafstunde, or things like that. And this is the time of day that most car accidents happen and work accidents happen, because probably an evolution reason, species come from Africa. At Africa, it's hot at noontime. So it's not smart to waste energy. This is why we will see even animals resting at noontime, because it's the hot hours. So our body got used to rest at noontime. Although, it's physiological need, it's not really acceptable. Like, nobody goes in the middle of the day to the office and sleeps for an hour,
Well, not if they want to keep their job, anyway.
No, and not if there were, unless the Winston Churchill. Like Winston Churchill, who basically saved the free world. He used to sleep at noon, doesn't matter what,
So that was the need that you decided to fill with BioLift specifically?
So many lives are being affected by a phenomena that is basically overlooked, because it's funny, or maybe it's not, or maybe other places that it happens, but people tend to blame themselves. Like also with the noon fatigue. So you'll ask people, I didn't sleep a lot at night, or I didn't eat, I ate too much. And, people tend to blame themselves, but this is something that you don't need to blame yourself because it's just integrated in our inner clock. The thing is, culturally, it's not accepted. So yeah, I thought, this is a need that will be interesting to solve, if so many billions are being lost because of lost productivity time, and so many lives are being affected because concentration and focus drops by 15 to 20%. So this will be something that is worth solving.
So how did you go about doing that? Like, how did you decide which ingredients in BioLift will help a person overcome that midday fatigue?
Basically, I even started from a more early stage. As I told you, this is a 12-year project, and I started even just to get to know the term called chronobiology, because this is the field of science that we are coming from. It's study of basically the physiological, the biological expression of time. And, we can see it also in our day-to-day life, like when the pharmacist tells you this take in the morning, the other pill take in the evening, or there are certain hours that surgeries are being done. Because although, it's very Western, maybe even American to think we wake up, everything is a straight clock, we punch the clock, punch it back, and we go to sleep. But really, nature doesn't work this way. Nature, like in a lot of other things, works in cycles. So we thought, what is the reason? Why are we tired at noontime? There has to be a biological expression to this feeling. And what we found together with Technion Medical Faculty in Israel, headed by Professor Giora Pilar, which is one of the world's known chronobiologists, is that the reason that we're tired at noontime is that around 7 hours after we wake up, there is a decrease in the oxygen in our blood. Our body temperature goes down by 0.5 degree. There are some hormonal changes, and sugar level goes down. We thought, okay, these are the physiological expression of the tiredness. Let's try to balance them botanically. We built the formula by addressing the parameters that are changing in our body at noontime or around 7 hours after we wake up.
So we're looking at guarana, elderberry. Did I see elderberry seeds?
The most important ingredient that we have, and I think it's the most special one, is called carob. You know what? You're familiar with carob? It's a Mediterranean.
I've heard it, but Tracy in Wisconsin has no idea what that is. So tell the listeners what it is.
As I told you, there are sugar fluctuations that happen at noontime, and then we eat lunch, and our sugar spikes. And at noontime, anyhow, it goes down. And this is one of the main reasons why we're tired. So first, we understood we have to decrease the sugar fluctuation. And this is why we do not add any sugar, and we are sweetened only by a low glycemic carob extract. Low glycemic is a pretty new term, for the broader public, but like we have in cholesterol, good cholesterol and bad cholesterol. So in the next few years, we will learn also that there is a good sugar and bad sugar. And the low glycemic one is the good one. And because it decreases the sugar fluctuation. So first, the biggest ingredient is carob, this Mediterranean fruit that is also mentioned in the scripture. I think it's also called St. James bread.
I'll have to look that up.
Yeah. So it's very sweet, and we are the first beverage ever that is sweetened only by a low glycemic carob extract.
Okay.
From there, we have ginkgo biloba, which addresses the decrease in the oxygen that we have in our blood. Elderberry and guarana. Guarana has caffeine, but we use a very low dose, so we have less than 10 milligrams of caffeine in a 12-ounce drink, which is like a cube of chocolate. It has no physiological expression. We have elderberry. This is because of a phenomena called the sick building syndrome. Usually it happens in closed offices, when it's the changing season. You have an employee which is highly motivated and is coming with fever and a flu, and the next day half of the office is not there. Also, when we're tired, our immune system is weaker. This is why we have also elderberry in our formula and a small dose of guarana, which has less than 10 milligrams of caffeine to 12-ounce dose, so it doesn't have any physiological expression. But what is interesting is that we went to find a solution for this post-lunch dip phenomena few years later, and 7 clinical trials and global patents, we discovered together with the Technion medical faculty that we found a new mechanism, a new neurological mechanism of action, basically a new pathway to increase wakefulness and focus in less than 3 minutes for over 120 minutes. And then we wrote a patent on it, which is now approved also in the US. And basically, BioLift is the first product that is based on this ingredient.
So what kind of studies or trials, what did those consist of?
We started, we're at the 7th. We started at 2012. And now our 7th clinical trial is on 100 children with ADHD. But we started our first clinical trial, double-blind crossover, together with the Technion and the Rambam Hospital in Israel. And people came, they ate lunch, and then they drank our formula, they drank placebo, and they drank caffeine. Everything was the same. They didn't know what is what. And since we are coming from the scientific angle, so our end goal when we are involved in an ingredient is health claims. The world is drifting away from all those marketing superlatives, gives you wings, etc. People would rather have concrete science and understanding, besides the marketing superlatives, which are, of course, important. They need to mean something, actually. The way you measure vigilance is the most acceptable way is called the Stanford Sleeping Scale. It's called the sleeping scale, but it's actually designed to measure reaction time, word recall, and what we saw is that our formula, caffeine, were pretty much the same at the first 30 minutes, but then caffeine went down and our effect continued over 120 minutes. So this was our first clinical trial. And since when you do clinical trials, so you have to go to the Helsinki Committee. The Helsinki Committee approves clinical trials on human. And this is something we didn't even think, because when you do a clinical trial on human, you have to take blood pressure and pulse. And we saw that although caffeine increased the blood pressure and pulse, our formula did not. And then it led us to our second clinical trial because we thought, wait a minute, caffeine builds tolerance in your body after around 2 weeks of daily consumption. And if we're going to tell people to drink it every day and it builds tolerance, then after a month, you might be selling Eli. And that led us to our second clinical trial, which is 30 days of consumption. And it's thought that if you consume a substance for 30 days on a daily basis, and it does not build tolerance after 30 days, it does not build tolerance at all. And this is what we saw, that not only it does not build tolerance, but if you take it daily, it actually improves results. And then, it's all very nice scientifically, but we thought, let's give people to try it. And we started to collaborate with Google and eBay Innovation Center in Israel, which were giving it to their employees at noontime, because unless you're paying your employee less than $1 an hour, and his productivity drops at noontime, you might as well offer him a solution instead of other things, They liked it a lot, and then we got the approval of the FAA, and El Al, the Israeli Airlines pilot, started to drink it at the cockpit in order to cope better with jet lags.
Did you look at, there's a difference on some of those vigilance tests, there's actually a difference based, depending on the age, and I know that you're doing the ADHD trial. I know the sampling was, at least on the very first test, looked like it was a very small sampling, and you progressively have gotten...
Yeah, it was 30 or 35 subjects, I think.
Yeah. And I was just wondering if you had looked at it in conjunction about what the age range of the subjects were, with the younger, older, because older subjects, as I'm sure have a more difficult time in that prolonged concentration, say.
Generally speaking, we know that around 80% of the population is suffering for the post-lunch dip. There are some that do not. Generally...
Well, those would be the people that sleep till noon,
that
right?
Would be me.
You can't have a post-lunch dip if you're just waking up.
Post-evening dip. Yeah.
And is it harder to, for youthful subjects, also, it's harder to even maintain that focus on a single subject, a single topic. It's like
it's a battery of tests, the Stanford Sleeping Scale. Some of it is analog visual scale, when people just rank how they feel. And this is something interesting that we found about caffeine, that people feel more awake, but it actually doesn't improve results. So this person says, I feel like I'm 7 now, and I was 5 before in the analog visual scale from 1 to 10, but actually his results are still 5. I think, since caffeine is the world's, let's face it, caffeine is a psychoactive drug. And I think that unless alkaloid, molecule, maybe our modern world will look different, So yes, caffeine is something that works. It has its pluses and minuses. Of course, also there's a flavor and cultural aspect, but people are associating increased heart rate and increased blood pressure with wakefulness. And it's not necessarily the case. At least from our understanding, if you have a big sport game or you have a big exam, I'm not sure it will benefit you to drink a lot of caffeine before. It's not necessarily going to improve your results, So this is something interesting that we found, that caffeine makes people believe that they are more awake and sharp than they really are.
And it irritates the stomach. I tasted the mixed berry product.
Yeah.
Very good. I really enjoyed it.
But again, thank you a lot. It was hard work, but what we're working is on an ingredient. Basically, our crown jewel is to find the next generation of caffeine and to have a patent on it. So basically what we produce together with an American corporation called ADM, which is $100 billion company. And if the food and beverage industry is made out of Lego bricks, so ADM makes the Lego bricks. They do the flavors, the ingredients, the probiotics, all those. So what we created is an ingredient, which is natural, water-soluble, clear, and we know how to make it in a lollipop. We know how to make it with the big cereal company as a frosty crust to cereal, where you eat your cereal in the morning and biologically wake up. But I guess ever since coffee and tea, water is the most popular carrier for functional ingredients. And this is why we decided to do our own value proposition of our ingredient as a beverage. Because like if an ingredient works well with water, with plain water, then it will probably work well with a lot of other ingredients as well. So yeah, our core innovation is the ingredient, which we do with ADM. They are producing it in Valencia in Spain because of the carob. And I think in the next year or two, we will see a lot of other product with this ingredient inside.
Well, I was going to ask, I mean, you've clearly got a great, helpful niche product. The beverage industry overall seems overwhelming and inundated with different things, as you were saying, things that allegedly give you wings. And now you've got beverages coming out with kratom, and THC and CBD and all these other things. How do you penetrate that market? How are you doing that in your distribution and everything?
I think the product, just the simple fact that it's healthier by virtue of blood pressure and cardiac rhythm, I mean, is enormous.
We saw it in COVID, you can have the vaccine for COVID, but if you don't have good marketing, I'm not sure you're going to sell that much, so something that I'm finding out throughout this entrepreneurial way, that one does not come instead of the other. Like if you have everything, like if you have science, if you have marketing, you might have a chance. If you do not have everything from the beginning, I'm not sure that the odds are on your favor. So yeah, you have to have a good product, but you have to have everything, marketing, distribution, which is for us a challenge, especially building it from the other side of the world. Most of the time I'm located in Israel, especially in times like this. It's definitely challenging.
Speaking of distribution, how do people get your product?
Right now, we're working in 2 channels. One is everybody can order BioLift at our website at drinkbiolift.com. We're producing in New Jersey, and nationwide you get it in 2-3 days. It's a 6-pack. Of course, everything is full money back guarantee for any reason if you're not happy, because it's a functional drink. If you don't feel it after 3-4 minutes, don't pay for it. The other route is school vending machines. There is a need. Like sometimes you go on a road, but you don't know what you're going to find on the way. And I didn't even think about the school vending machine. But, one day we were getting an email that the schools are taking out a famous beverage in the U.S. I think it's called Celsius, because it has a lot of sugar and caffeine. And they're looking for an alternative. So now, throughout California, we are in high school vending machines, because this is the only drink that the principal would let in.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. Is that public or private California schools?
I think it's mixed, but I'll have to get back to you on that. I never even saw a vending machine with BioLift with my own eyes. So, yeah.
Oh,
I wanted to ask that, there is the carbohydrate load is still a little high for my taste, but did y'all assess what impact it might have on insulin consumption?
Well, this is like right on the point. As we spoke before, part of the reason that we're tired at noontime is because at noontime our sugar level drops, and if we eat lunch, especially if it's rich in carbohydrates, like you said, then our sugar level goes up and it drops, and here is the tiredness. Although you see the carbohydrates in the label, we are sweetened only by a very low glycemic, less than 55. So carob extract. So we do not, it's sweetened only by a fruit extract, which is low glycemic. Like, this is the first thing that we understood, that if we want a drink that will have a long-lasting wakefulness effect, it cannot have sugar in it. I don't know. I think in the next few years, like we said, like in cholesterol, like there's a good cholesterol and bad cholesterol. I think in the next few years, the public will understand also that there is a good sugar and bad sugar. And low glycemic, so people with insulin problem, diabetic people, they can all consume it.
What is one last thing that you would like our listeners to know?
If I can add something to the day-to-day knowledge, is listen to your circadian rhythm. Do not ignore it. Do not overlook it. And if you do, there will be a price to pay also. And also use it, like everything, there's pluses and minuses. And like, if you want to play tennis, so you should go around 4 o'clock because our coordination is the best. Or if you want to eat a good dinner, so go around 7 o'clock because our taste buds are most awake, So if it's one thing, we'll be happy to leave your listeners with is look into chronobiology, look into your circadian rhythm, listen to it, do not ignore it. And if you are interested, and if you do think you need help with your vigilance and focus throughout the day, God is my witness that we have the best solution for you. And this is something that the food industry will see, I believe, in the next year or two. But we're giving a glance. We'll be happy to get any feedback. And if for any reason somebody does not like us, like I told you, you don't need to pay for something you don't like or you don't think is working. So we stand fully behind what we do. Yeah, work with your body, not against.
That's an awesome guarantee. Certainly a landmark product, I believe.
Okay. And again, that website where they can look it up, was that BioLift.com?
BioLift.com. Yeah.
drinkbiolift.com. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for staying up late and for telling us about it. And listener, I hope you found this educational, informational, somewhat entertaining. And until next time.
Thanks for subscribing to Your Infinite Health. I'm Dr. Tripp.
And I'm Lene. Until next time, feel it, look it, and live it.